So I've opened up my photos, right? So here's the photos that I've uploaded to the Google Shared folder that we started working with last time. The next part is to actually try to indicate where these were taken. Now I don't remember exactly where I found all of them, but I'll mark the ones that I do remember where I found them. I'm going to mark them on a map, right? So you of course can find us on, Google Maps, but I don't think that specific map is very useful because if you look at it, it just sort of has a big empty area for a lot of where we were working, right? So that's not very useful in my opinion. Instead, if you find us on OpenStreetMaps, I think this is quite a bit more useful. Now, you can't zoom in as much in OpenStreetMaps, so once you've zoomed in as much as you can, you might need to use like Command plus on your keyboard to actually zoom in with your computer, with your browser, instead of with the built-in website interface. It gets a little bit blurrier, but I think it's still okay. So I think sort of something like this might be a decent view, right? Because this should cover, I think, just about all the places that we were looking. If you took some pictures in other parts when we weren't in session that you're also including, that's okay. You could zoom out a bit further and include a wider area if you need to. So once I've found sort of the amount of space that I want for my picture, I'm going to go ahead and take a screenshot of this. So if we do Command Shift 3, that will take a screenshot of everything. If we do Command Shift 4, that will take a screenshot of just however much we determine with this little crosshair. Both of these should appear on your desktop shortly after doing so. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open these with Photoshop. Now if you haven't used Photoshop, you might need to log in. Now if you haven't used Photoshop yet on the computer you're using, or if you haven't used it at all, there is a login procedure. I'm going to go ahead and do Command Space, and I'm going to type Photoshop into the search instead of trying to navigate through all the windows to find it. It should pop up pretty easily. I'm going to double click it. It will take a moment to start up. And then you'll see some login screens. So you do have a login that is provided by the district. You have to use your school email address. It should be the same way you log into, it should be the same password you use to log into the computers. At some point it'll ask you if this is a personal account or like a business, school, organization account. You would be using the school one. So once you're through all of those, and if you need help, just ask, then you should be able to like right click on the photos and tell them to open with Photoshop. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting little markers to indicate what I saw where. Now, if I go back to here, the way that I want to do this is looking at these. I want to figure out some sort of system. So here I've got sort of all these annuls, right? This is one tree. This is a different tree. So I have December 6th, annul 12 and 13. I've got December 6th, this nest. So I think I'm not going to worry too much about the exact species. I'm just going to start numbering these in ways that I think works pretty well. So I'm not going to number just straight numerically. I'm going to instead number sort of by month. So that way we'll have, like, if you did something in August, you might have an A1, A2, and A3. If you did something in September, you might have an S1, an S2, and S3. That also helps us sort of see sort of across the year and across the seasons what we might have seen there. So I think if I scroll down to the bottom, I think those are more towards the start. So I have these two for September. So I have this cicada down here from September. This is the only specimen that I have from September, actually. So I wouldn't do S1 and S2 because it's the same cicada. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename it. I'm going to put S1 at the start for September. And I'll put S1 at the start for this one too, since they're the same specimen. And where did that go? Okay, they're still, it moved them way up here because I modified them more recently, because I have it sorted by last modified by me. So that's why mine is in this organization. Now, this was actually not out here in the prairie. This was actually on the balcony up here. On the balcony, I'm going to make some organization, because otherwise this is going to get messy fast. So I'm going to create a new group. September. This will also allow us to be able to see things quickly, turn them on and off. So inside of here, I'm going to make a new layer. And with my paintbrush, making sure that it's on 100% hardness, so that way it has a nice sharp edge. And then I'm going to figure out a size that looks decent. So maybe around 30, no, a little bit smaller. Maybe around 15, maybe a little bigger. Maybe 20. I think that looks good. So September is in the summer still? Yes, that would still be summer. So I think for summer, let's choose maybe a nice orange. And I will put a circle here to indicate the location. And then I will use the text tool to write S1. Oh, maybe a capital S1 for September first image. Make sure we move just that. Now, it can be easy to accidentally move the background like you just saw. So I could go in here and I could click this lock, right? And now we won't be able to accidentally move the background. So that helps a little bit. So that's my only one for September. Then if I scroll down, what do I have next? I have November, and I've got this bee here. The bee was sort of over here in this area where we had all the goldenrod. So like before, I'm going to rename this. I'll do N1. It's going to be my first one. This bee was the same specimen, so I'm going to make it also N1. So I will make a new folder. I'm going to call this one November. Make a new layer in there. November is technically fall. And actually I think that orange color would have been better for November. I'm going to go on here. I'm going to double click this layer over here. And that will allow me to change the color of all the things on that layer, right? So if I had made a whole bunch of dots, I'd be able to quickly and easily change them, which is nice. I'm going to change that to sort of a soft red. And then for fall, let's use orange for that instead. So I will make a dot kind of over here, and that's where N1 will go. So now with my type tool, type capital N and 1, and put this on there. I can move it with the arrow, or I can also move it with my arrow keys. Now that's a little bit tight, so maybe the font size is a little too big. What if we try size 12? I think that works better. I want my sizes to match, so let's actually change this one also to 12. Now if I end up with lots of photos, like more than 9, right, up to like N10 or S10 or something like that, that also might not work so well. So let's try with a larger number. What if we did N99, right? So let's bring this down to maybe 10. There we go. I think that works. I think that it's okay. It's still legible. So we can change this back to N1, and we're going to use size 10 for these, so we have enough space in case we need lots of space. So here I'll change this to 10 as well. If you don't have the properties window here, you can add it up here from window, right, and you can see it there. Here's where you can also see the layers window and the color window and all those things. So that looks better size wise, but it's off center, so I'll use my arrow keys to move it. Okay. And let's see, what else do I have in November? I've got this little annul here. And those are, let's see, is this the same annul? This is a Carolina. Okay, this was the same one, actually. The coloration looks different because they can change their color, so he was brown, and then he ran off a little bit, but not too far away, and he started turning more green, and I could see his eyes and his features a little bit better here, so I could identify him as a Carolina. So we'll say this is N2. And I'm going to rename each one of them with an N2 in front, so that way it's clear they're all the same specimen. And he was over here on this bench here. So going back into November, I can click back on this layer, right, that I already put the one orange dot on. I can make sure it's the layer that I think it is by clicking the little eyeball, and I can see it's popping in and out, right, so I know it's the same layer. And here, I'll put a little orange dot there, and then I can write N2. Now every time I use the type tool, it's going to make a new layer. You can write on the same layer as the previous one, but it makes the positioning a little bit hard because it's going to try to like put the lines in equal spacing, and you won't be able to get things exactly where you want. So it's better for your type to just use new layers each time. So now I've got a September folder and a November folder, and we can quickly and easily see what we spotted in November versus September, right? And that can start to be pretty cool as we start to put in all of the different ones that we saw. So I don't need to go through all of these for you to get the idea. Hopefully that's enough, and you can give it a try and start to do yours. For the winter months, which would be December, January, and February, let's use blue. And then for spring, we'll use green. And then when we get back to summer, like in May, would that even include May? March, April, May. No, that would be June. June, July, August. For summer, those months, we would go back to red. Actually, I suppose September would be the first month of fall. I think that's when fall begins. Let's use these dates here, because that will be easier than trying to split the months like that. Okay, and then once you have finished, then you can save your document. Let's save it as a PSD. Let's keep the PSD file, and I can call this Mr. W's map. Okay. I'm also going to save another version as a PNG. So the PSD file will be editable, so I can edit it again in the future. The PNG version won't be editable, but anybody could view it on any computer, basically, or phone, etc., because this is a very universal format. And then I will upload both into my folder. Let's see, I probably saved them into my documents folder. I wasn't paying attention. Alright, let's see where I put them. File save as. I put them in... Oh, on my desktop. Okay. There they are. And in just a moment, they should finish uploading, and then we're good.